Oh, welcome to another Wayward Wine installment of I'm Too Lazy to Write, but this wine is far too cool not to talk about. Video log. Tonight we're featuring Turley, famed winery for sourcing from 50 different vineyards, single vineyards, typically old vines in Zinfandel, Petit Syrah, vines that are gnarly, neglected, often would be plowed over for something else. Um, the Turleys have managed to save over the years by turning them into single vineyard bottlings. They make over about 47 wines presently out of those 50 vineyards, some years more. And tonight's is exceptionally different, something that I've never seen before. It comes out of Lodi, like a lot of fruit that they source. But this one vineyard, the Betchfold vineyard, grows Cinsault. And not just any Cinsault that was planted back in 1885 on its own roots in sandy soil, unaffected by phylloxera for the most part, and somehow, after 135 years, still producing enough fruit out of these gnarly head-trained vines, kind of like my hand, basically, that you have to harvest by hand every year. You can't run a machine through it. Very, very labor-intensive. But makes enough fruit somehow, after 135 years, to actually produce a wine. It's 100% Cinsault, fermented wild with native yeast, and then aged for just a little while in used French barrique. Vintage is 2019, so this is a youngin, which typically is a good thing for Cinsault. Cinsault historically is used for Provençal Rosé from southern France, and as a blending agent in Chateauneuf-du-Pape, where it's basically there just to add acid and brighten up the wine and give it a bit of stability. It's not known for having very intense tannins or anything like that. It doesn't develop alcohol very quickly either, as we will soon see when we try it. So let's give Cinsault from Lodi, a region famed for monstrous Zinfandel, a shot. Here's the wine. As you can see, it is a fairly medium minus intensity ruby, almost slightly purple, but has very pretty bright highlights as well, and just a very thin viscous veil as well. Aromatically, if you didn't tell me what it was, I would think Beaujolais. It's very bright and has that classic kind of telltale bubblegum note, which might mean there might be some whole cluster action going on here where they take the clusters, throw them in tank, and let carbonic maceration before pre-fermentation. Carbonic maceration basically occur under CO2, so that yeast don't do their thing and create a normal wine. Instead, it's creating alcohol through this enzymatic process of carbonic maceration. So it's got that bubblegum note, the kind of classic pink bubblegum that you get on Halloween coming up soon. And then touches of clove, a little bit of light vanilla, maybe from the oak, something like that. But yeah, in addition to those sort of spice notes and the flavor notes, there's a clear kind of pomegranate and peach character to it. Very pretty. And a little bit of like rose as well. If you're looking for a floral, I'd say something like a rose. No. On the palate, it's dry, so ignore the bubblegum. It's just a flavor, it's not sweetness. It's dry with medium plus acidity, which is quite surprising for Lodi. Typically the wines tend to be fairly big, round, and kind of flat. So pretty high acidity, smooth, medium tannins, nothing very aggressive here at all. Very supple, very, very thin tannins, nothing really too intense. And alcohol is moderate. I mean, surprisingly enough, for a region that produces wines in the 15 to 16 range of alcohol, this is punching around 12.4. I kid you not. If you can read that right there. 12.4% alcohol, which is like normal for many regions in France, for that matter. And body-wise, medium minus body. This is not a heavy wine. It's quite light in style. but very silky, very soft, kind of like a nice fine silk like kimono or something. Just very easygoing. The palette reflects the nose. That bubblegum note is still there, the kind of bright pink bubblegum, in addition to that lovely kind of red pomegranate fruit, peach, and just a touch of those little spices we mentioned before. Spices like clove, that sort of thing, vanilla, but they're really in the background. It's really more that bright fruit, that twangy acid, the peachiness, the kind of tart peach acidity almost that's there. Pomegranate has a tartness to it too. Length. The flavors last about a medium length. Now, this doesn't change the world wine in terms of what it tastes like, but it's extremely pleasurable, very pleasant, very friendly. It's like that person you want to hang out at the start of the party before things get too like exciting or whatever. You just want to have a quick little light chat. Don't have to think about it. You know, if you like having red wine with fish, this could work actually pretty well. The tannins are pretty quiet, so they wouldn't become too offensive with the fish dish. But yeah, charcuterie, appetizers, that sort of thing. This is where this wine wants to live. It's just a bright, light little red. But aside from the fact that the quality is just very good, it's not outstanding. It's a cool wine. It's something that you'll never see, especially from vines that old. Maybe the oldest Cinsault in the entire country, if not the whole world. Getting into the territory where there's very few of these left because they just don't produce enough fruit to make enough wine. So if you have a chance to grab it, I believe it was going for around somewhere in the low 20s per bottle. So a fun little buy and something a little different for sure. So Cinsault from Lodi. There you go. You know, it's a kind of cool Beaujolais, Gamay, light Pinot like alternative from a place that usually produces wines that are on the border of port. So, cheers.